I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am. It started simple enough. My wife, Lisa, and I had been together for over 10 years. We had a good life, or at least that's what I told myself. We weren't perfect, but I believed in us. She was my anchor, the one person I trusted more than anyone. Until the day I found out she'd betrayed me in a way I couldn't even begin to imagine. It was a shitty, rainy Saturday when I decided to visit my grandma's house after her funeral. The whole family was there, and I'd been feeling numb all day, trying to keep it together. Lisa was acting fine, maybe a little subdued, but I thought that was normal. She'd always been good at hiding her feelings. As I was about to leave, I had this strange feeling like a prickling behind my neck, a warning I couldn't ignore. I told myself it was just grief messing with my head. On my way out, I paused by the kitchen counter, where Lisa's purse was sitting. Something caught my eye. Her phone was half hidden behind a box of tissues. I figured she'd left it there, or maybe she forgot it. I reached out and grabbed it before I even thought. The screen lit up unexpectedly and a text message popped up. I didn't even have to unlock the damn thing. It read, "Can't wait to see you tonight, miss you already." My stomach sank. That wasn't a work-related message or a friendly "see you later." It was intimate, almost desperate. I stared at the words, my fingers trembling. My mind spun. Who the hell was she talking to? I gripped the phone tighter, feeling the cold sweat bead on my forehead. I looked closer, scrolling up the thread, and there it was, dozens of messages, flirty texts, words that made my skin crawl. "You look so hot today," one said. "I wish I could be there with you." I didn't need more. I knew I'd found what I was looking for. She'd been lying to me all this time. My wife, who had always been so perfect, so kind, she was sneaking around behind my back. During my grandma's funeral of all days. I clenched my fists, feeling the blood rush to my head. My heart hammered against my ribs, a rogue drum in my chest. I had to sit down. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. All the pieces fell into place, but I still couldn't believe it. Betrayal doesn't even cover what I felt. It was like a punch to the gut, then a slow burn in my chest. How long had this been going on? Was she planning to leave? Or was she just doing this behind my back, hiding it like a secret she thought I'd never find out? I looked around the kitchen, trying to ground myself. The rain was still pounding outside, the sound echoing inside my skull. My palms were clammy and my vision blurred slightly at the edges. I kept staring at the screen, the message still glowing in my hand. I wondered how many other lies I'd been living with without even realizing it. My head was spinning. I knew I had to act, but I didn't know what. One thing was clear: this wasn't just about the affair. It was about trust, about who she really was. I thought I knew her. I thought she was my partner, my best friend. But she'd been playing me for a fool, all while smiling right in my face like everything was fine. I looked down at the phone one more time, then shoved it into my pocket. Whatever came next, I had to get ready for it, because I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without a fight. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. My jaw clenched and I felt a cold fire building somewhere deep inside me. Betrayal like this doesn't just disappear. It festers. It grows. And I was starting to see that I needed to prepare for what was coming. I knew this wasn't just going to blow over. I had to think carefully. I had to plan. But first I had to confront her. The question was how. I didn't sleep much that night. My mind kept circling around the same thoughts, her, the messages, the betrayal. I kept replaying that moment when I first saw her phone, that sick feeling in my stomach. It was like I'd been slapped. I'd trusted her for so long, and now I saw her for what she really was. A liar, a cheat, someone who could hide this kind of betrayal behind a fake smile. The next morning I felt like I was walking in a fog. My stomach was not tight and my heart still pounded when I thought about confronting her. I knew I had to, not just for myself but for the truth, because I refused to be the fool in this story. I had to get answers. I needed to see her face and hear her lie to me directly. Or maybe I'd be the one lying, I didn't know yet. I decided to go to her. No warning, no text ahead. Just show up and see what she'd do when faced with the evidence. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to play her game anymore. I pulled on my coat, grabbed my keys, and walked out into the cold morning, feeling a strange mix of adrenaline and dread. As I neared the house, my hands started to sweat again. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. When I parked in front and stepped out, her car was already there. That was a good sign. She was home. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, then knocked on the door. It swung open before I could even finish the first knock. Lisa looked surprised, maybe even guilty. Her eyes darted away for a second, then she forced a smile. "Hey, I wasn't expecting you," she said, trying to sound casual. "I need to talk," I said quietly, staring at her. "Can I come in?" She hesitated but stepped aside. The house was silent except for the muffled sounds of her footsteps behind me. I felt my fists clench. This was it. No more hiding. I pulled out the phone and held it up. "Who is this?" I asked, voice trembling but trying to stay firm. She froze. Her eyes widened, then she slowly reached for the phone. Her hand was trembling just as much as mine. I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered, voice cracking. "Don't lie," I said coldly. "This message, these texts, who is he?" She looked down, biting her lip, then let out a shaky breath. "It's just someone from work, nothing serious." "Nothing serious," I snapped. "You think I'm stupid? During my grandma's funeral, you're so good at pretending everything's fine, but I see through it now." Her face twisted with guilt, but her eyes darted around, searching for a way out. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I was going to tell you, I swear." "Really? You were going to tell me? That's a damn lie." I felt my voice rising, heat flushing through my chest. "You lied to my face every day, and now you tell me you were going to tell me. That's bullshit." She took a step closer, hands raised slightly as if trying to comfort herself. "Look, I made a mistake. I didn't want to hurt you, but I don't know. I got caught up in some stupid thing." "Stupid, that's what she called it." I clenched my jaw. "You don't just get caught up, Lisa. You cheat, you lie, you betray, and after all these years, this is how you repay me." She looked close to tears, but I wasn't going to feel sorry for her. Not now. I was too angry, too hurt, already imagining how I'd rip this whole thing apart. I knew I couldn't just walk away. I had to do something unforgettable. Something she'd remember for the rest of her life. "I want the truth," I said sharply. "Are you sleeping with him, or was this just some fling?" She hesitated, then nodded slightly. "It's more than a fling, but it's over now, I swear." That was the moment I realized I wasn't going to be the fool. I needed a plan, something to make her regret every single lie she'd told me. I had to show her I wasn't going to be a pushover anymore. That's when the idea started to take shape. The confrontation was only warming up. I saw her face, so guilty, so fragile, and I knew I had to do something drastic, something that would send a clear message that I wasn't going to stay quiet. I just didn't know how far I was willing to go yet. That part would come soon enough. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You think you can just lie and pretend everything's fine? Well, I've got a plan. And trust me, it's going to make sure you remember this betrayal for the rest of your life." The silence that followed was thick enough to cut with a knife. Lisa stared at me, her face a mixture of fear and confusion. I could see her trying to gauge what I was really thinking, but I wasn't about to give her that satisfaction. Not yet. I needed her to understand that this wasn't just a fight or an angry outburst. This was the beginning of a lesson she'd never forget. "I'm not going to march in and cause a scene," I said coldly, voice steady with an edge of resolve. "But I am going to make sure you regret this. Every single lie, every betrayal, every silent moment pretending everything was perfect, we're done pretending. You want to play the victim now? Fine. But I'm about to take control of this mess." Her eyes widened and she looked away, trying to hide the tears pooling at the corners. I knew she was scared, but she also looked guilty, like she knew she'd crossed a line that couldn't be erased. That's when I decided to lay out my plan, something that would make her realize I was serious. "You think this is just about confronting you? No, this is about consequences," I told her, voice low but firm. "You hurt me bad, Lisa, and I won't stand for it, so I've got a plan, and if you want to keep pretending, then go ahead, but I promise you'll never forget what's coming." She looked at me, her face wet with tears now, trembling. "What are you planning? Please just tell me." I stepped closer, my jaw clenched, and let my words hang heavy. "You're going to regret this. You want to see what I'm capable of? Good, because I've already started setting things in motion. You might think you're good at hiding your lies, but I've got proof and I've got ideas. You're not too clever for me." I was testing her, watching her reactions, but I knew I had to be more specific. "Tomorrow I'm going to do something that will hit you hard. You want to keep sneaking around, fine, but I'll make sure everyone finds out. Your reputation, your peace of mind, your life will never be the same, and you'll wish you never crossed me." She whimpered softly and wiped her cheeks with trembling hands. "Please, don't do anything crazy." "Oh, I won't do anything crazy," I said quietly, voice dripping with promise. "Just enough to make sure you remember this forever, because betrayal like yours, that's something I never forgive, not easily and not quietly." She broke down then, sobbing silently. I didn't feel sorry for her, just a cold satisfaction that I'd finally taken control. I didn't tell her the details of my revenge plan just yet. Those wouldn't come until I was ready. But I knew it would be enough to shake her to her core. When I left that house, I felt lighter even if my stomach was still churning. There was a strange clarity in my mind. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming myself, about making her see that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I drove home, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. But beneath that there was a spark, a tiny flame of resolve that I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. Not anymore. I was going to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. She had no idea what I'd set in motion, and that was the best part. I still had one last move up my sleeve. I knew I could. Tip my hand too soon. That's why I spent the night planning, plotting, and imagining the look on her face when she realized I'd turned the tables. This was only the beginning. Now I had to wait, but I'd be damned if I let her get away with it. Not this time. The next few days were a blur of tension and careful planning. I stayed quiet, watched her every move, and started to put the pieces together for my plan of revenge. I knew I couldn't just explode and blow everything up all at once. That'd be too obvious, too reckless. No, I needed precision, something that would hit her where it hurt without making me look like the crazy husband she already thought I was. One thing I did early on was gather some evidence. Small things, but enough to remind her I was serious. I started by installing a tracking app on her phone, something discreet, so I could keep an eye on her whereabouts without her knowing. I also kept a close eye on her social media activity. She was careless with that stuff. She posted a picture of herself at a coffee shop with a caption that read, "Needed this after a long week." I noticed the timing, just when I was starting to get suspicious. That same day, I found out she'd been meeting her so-called friend at that very same coffee shop. It was a small town, so I already knew the place. I visited it myself casually, trying to look relaxed. The smell of roasted beans and baked goods hit me the moment I stepped in, but I couldn't enjoy it. I was too focused. I watched her from a distance, saw her laughing with a man I now knew was her affair partner, another coworker, a guy named Mark. The way they leaned into each other, whispering, touching hands, yeah, it was obvious. That night I sat in my car outside her place, feeling the pulse of anger and betrayal surge again. I had enough. I realized I needed to execute my plan. It was time to make her see that I knew everything, that I wasn't going to let this slide. The next morning, I woke early and made sure I had everything I needed. I had already contacted a private investigator, someone I trusted who specialized in catching cheating spouses. I gave him all the details, and he promised to gather some concrete proof. I also arranged to have some photos taken of her and marked together, just to have undeniable evidence. While waiting for the investigator's report, I started to put together a plan for her public exposure. I wasn't interested in destroying her life completely, just enough to make her realize she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal, to see the damage she'd done to us. I set up a meeting with her that afternoon under the pretense of talking things out. I told her I'd been thinking and I wanted to hear her side, whatever she had to say. Inside, I was already imagining her face when she found out I knew everything, how her smug smile would fade. When she arrived, I kept my tone calm but cold. "Lisa, I've got some questions, and I hope you're ready to be honest, because I already know the truth." Her eyes darted nervously. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," I said, showing her the photos I'd pulled up on my phone. "This is you with Mark. At the coffee shop. During the week I was supposed to be grieving my grandma. Tell me, how long has this been going on?" Her face drained of color. She stammered, I didn't mean for you to find out like this." "Too late for that," I said, voice dripping with cold anger. "You betrayed me, Lisa. during one of the worst times of my life. Did you really think I wouldn't find out or that I'd just forget?" She broke down then, sobbing. "It was a mistake. I swear I didn't want to hurt you. I was just stupid. It meant nothing." "Nothing," I echoed. "That's what you say. You cheat and then expect me to believe it's nothing." Her shoulders shook as she cried, but I knew I couldn't stop there. I'd already decided what to do next. This wasn't just about confronting her anymore. It was about sending a message, making her understand that she'd burned the bridge forever. I told her I was going to tell her boss, her friends, everyone, make sure she'd never live this down. I wanted her to feel the shame, the guilt, the humiliation, because betrayal like this, it's not just about the affair, it's about the trust that was shattered. And once I was done, she'd wish she'd never crossed that line. I handed her the photos and walked out, leaving her sobbing behind me. I knew I'd struck the first blow, but the real damage was coming. I had everything I needed now: proof, a plan, and the resolve to see it through. In the quiet of my car, I felt a strange sense of calm. I was finally taking control. I'd shown her I wasn't some pushover, and I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not anymore. The next steps would be hard, but I was ready, because betrayal like hers, it demands a response, and I was going to give her one she'd never forget. The days that followed felt like walking on thin ice. I kept to myself, watching her every move, waiting for the right moment. My phone buzzed constantly with updates from the investigator. More photos, videos, little pieces of proof that confirmed she wasn't just flirting at the coffee shop. She was making plans, meeting him in secret, and I had the evidence to back it. All up, this wasn't some fleeting mistake. She was deep in it. Meanwhile, I started to shape my revenge, something that would leave her with no easy way out, no way to spin it like she was the victim. I knew I had to be strategic, careful. The last thing I wanted was for her to find out I was deliberately setting her up, or she'd just pull her poor me act and manipulate her way out of it. One night, I sat at my desk, carefully drafting what I was going to do. I didn't want to go straight to her boss or her friends just yet. I needed something more direct, something that would really make her regret her choices. I remembered her talking about a particular friend, Emily, someone she'd always trusted, someone who'd be just as furious when she found out. If I could get Emily involved, she'd see her true colors. I called Emily, kept my voice casual but honest. "Hey, Emily, I need to tell you something about Lisa. It's serious. I found out she's been cheating on me, and I think you should know." There was a pause, then Emily said, "Wait, what, Lisa? No way, are you sure?" "Oh, I've got proof," I said, showing her the pictures. "I want you to see this. I need your support. I'm planning to confront her soon, but I want you to know everything first." Emily was furious, no surprise there. "That bitch. I always thought there was something off about her. Thanks for telling me. I want to be there when you do this." That was when I realized I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was rallying allies. I wanted her to see that her lies had consequences, that the people she'd betrayed were going to turn against her. That's when I started to finalize the details of my revenge. The next morning, I set everything in motion. I arranged for the information to be leaked to her boss, an anonymous email with all the proof of her affair attached. I wanted her to feel the humiliation of being caught out at work, publicly. That would be the first strike. Then I planned to meet with Emily and a couple of friends to tell them the full story, making sure everyone knew what kind of person she really was. At the same time, I compiled a detailed timeline, a dossier of her betrayal. Every secret meeting, every lie, nothing was left out. I would give her enough rope to hang herself with her own lies, but I knew I had to be careful. If I pushed too hard, she'd just spin her story and I'd be the bad guy. But I was prepared to let her fall. That afternoon, I saw her reaction when she got the email. Her face went pale, her hands trembling as she read the nasty, detailed account. Looked stunned, like she'd been struck by lightning. I watched her from a distance, hidden behind a window, and felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and disgust. She thought she could get away with this, keep her secrets hidden forever, but I was showing her that I had the power now. When I finally confronted her again that evening, her eyes were red, her face flushed with shame. How did you find out?" she whispered, voice trembling. I looked at her coldly. "You really think I wasn't going to find out? You thought you could keep this hidden forever? Girl, I've got enough proof to bury you." and everyone's going to see who you really are. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you. That's bullshit, I snapped. You betrayed everything we had, during my grandmother's funeral no less. You're a liar and you're a cheat. I'm done playing nice. I told her she had one last chance to come clean and face what she'd done. I handed her a stack of legal papers, divorce papers, property division, everything laid out. Sign these, I said evenly, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Your reputation, your career, your life, everything's on the line now. She looked broken, defeated, but I knew I'd won the battle. The plan I'd crafted was working. Now it was time for the final act, the decisive break that would leave her no room to escape. I wasn't going to let her pretend she was innocent anymore. She'd pay for what she did, one way or another. And I was ready to walk away, knowing I'd finally taken control, no matter how much it hurt, no matter how much she begged. This story was about to end, and I was going to make sure she remembered the day her lies caught up with her. The weekend that followed was an emotional tornado. I handed her the papers, told her to sign and end this chapter once and for all. She looked at me, eyes swollen and red, and for a moment I saw the woman I once loved, broken, defeated, and finally honest with herself. She signed the divorce papers without another word, and as she did, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with disgust. The betrayal had cut deeper than I ever thought possible, but at least I had taken back control. Once she signed, I handed over the keys to her car and her favorite jewelry, things I'd kept aside for a long time as a symbol of her betrayal. It was a clear message. She was leaving her false life behind, and I was moving on without her. I knew this would hurt her, but that was the point. She needed to understand that her actions had consequences. I took the evidence I'd gathered, photos, recordings, the legal documents, and made one final move. I filed for divorce with the full knowledge that her reputation was already crumbling. I also sent the emails to her boss and her closest friends, making sure everyone knew the truth. The fallout was swift. Her boss called her into HR, and her friends were blindsided by the revelation. The shame was all over her face. Watching her crumble was satisfying, but I didn't let that be the end. I wanted her to understand that her betrayal wasn't just a moment of weakness. It was a choice she made repeatedly. I knew I deserved better, and I refused to be the sucker who let her get away with murder. The trust we built was shattered, and I had no intention of rebuilding it. As I watched her pack up her things, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. I had shut the door on a toxic chapter, and I finally saw the path forward. The pain still lingered, but I was stronger now, more aware of what I would and wouldn't tolerate. That day, I handed her the last of her belongings and told her, "Goodbye, Lisa. Don't come back." Walking away from her, I felt a strange mix of empowerment and loss, but I knew this was the right decision. Betrayal isn't just about the affair, it's about the lies, the deception, the betrayal of trust. I learned that sometimes the only way to reclaim yourself is to cut out the poison entirely. Looking back, I realize how far I've come. I no longer carry the weight of her lies. I've rebuilt my sense of self, stronger and more cautious. I hope anyone reading this remembers, trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deeper than words. When it happens, don't be afraid to fight back. You deserve the truth, and most of all, you deserve respect. The pain will fade, but lessons stay with you. Now I focus on healing and moving forward, because in the end, betrayal teaches you what really matters. And sometimes, the only way to keep your dignity is to walk away and never look back.